Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Happy Sunday, guys. I hope you are having a good one. I'm recording this on June 9th. I wanted to say, because it's June 9th, happy birthday to Johnny Depp. Yes, I remembered your birthday. And wherever you are in the world, I wanted to tell you happy 56th birthday. If you were here with me, I would be making you pancakes. According to my kids, they're world famous, or they ought to be. And they also soak up alcohol in case your knee's deep in tequila right now. I know that several people that are listening to this episode actually believe you, and myself included. Christian Carino wrote to Mr. Depp today that he's so grateful for his friendship. He wrote on Instagram. He put a picture of Johnny Depp on his Instagram and basically said thank you. And he looks forward to 56 years more of brotherhood. Mr. Depp helped him through a really horrible breakup when the talent agent, who's age 50, broke up with Lady Gaga recently. And apparently it was a bad one, and he was really hurting. So I don't know. It's like I keep hearing these wonderful stories about Mr. Depp and what a great friend he is. And so many people are sticking by him, and it makes me happy because I honestly believe his ex is a narcissist, and I have no qualms at all in saying it because she fits the bill. And if any of you ever suffered at the hands of a narcissist, if you haven't heard my episodes on this, please go back to February, because for Valentine's Day, the whole month of February, once a week, I did an episode on things like creating and setting your personal boundaries and sticking to them, and how to tell you've been with a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath, and how never to be in that situation again, because it's dangerous. It's very dangerous, and not just physically, but also very dangerous mentally and emotionally. I went through it a couple times until I realized what the hell is happening, and I've never looked back. And within a couple conversations, I can usually tell now if somebody is a narcissist. But even with a degree in psychology, I couldn't tell. So you can't blame Johnny Depp or anybody who's ever fallen victim to somebody who was an out-and-out narcissist. So anyway, if you guys have any issues with that and you want to hear more episodes on that, by the way, I will be more than happy to record them and send them out, because it's so important. And if you're an empath, you have a tendency to attract these people. And you just feel, oh, well, they're just misunderstood. They're not really all that bad. And I have to trust the good in humanity, right? No, you need to cut that out of your life immediately. It's really, really bad. Anyway, I just wanted to shout out to Johnny Depp and say happy birthday, man. I am glad you're in the world, and, for your music too. And he just made a whole album that he wrote, like all original music based on the hurt that he just suffered. So, honestly, art therapy, music therapy, it's all really good after a breakup. So today, the Ascension symptoms have lessened a little bit. We're at 97. So still a little bit tired, a little bit fuzzy-minded, but not like yesterday. Not at all like yesterday, but it's more of at least for me, it's more of a cuddly day. I laid on the couch, watched a couple movies, and then I got up and I danced for an hour. And I did. I made pancakes. I made pancakes for my kid, and I was going to order us the best darn chicken parmigiana in all of Ecuador. I mean, rivaling with Italian food I've had from somebody from Italy who made it for me. And my kid's like, no, that sounds good, but let's just have breakfast for dinner. And I'm all, Brenner, hell yeah, bring it on, baby. So that's what we had. We had pancakes. As far as the Schumann resonance today, it says at 1700, they did not have a morning report. They wrote, today's activity started quite suddenly at 5:30 a.m. UTC and continued for about 7 hours. The strongest peak at this time was at 30 hertz at 8:10 UTC. From 13 UTC, the amplitude has returned to normal values. So basically 30 hertz. That's not too bad. It's not even in the fifth dimension, so... All right, cool. It just seems like we're getting a little bit of a break, and it's not 100% of a break, but that's good because I'm pretty sure the rest of June is going to amp up and going to be pretty freaking intense. So there are a few things that happened that just really, I don't know. There was a shooting in Yakima, Washington, on the Yakima Reservation. 5 people died, and they're now looking for the person who did it. So I don't know. I think our thoughts and prayers should probably go to the Yakima Reservation tonight because 5 families lost loved ones, maybe less. It's horrible. So a lot of bad stuff in the world. I mean, I'm looking at just like random headlines. German student attack, cop chief's body found, although someone did donate $2 million to St. Jude, so hey, that's something, right? And tragedy toll rises and famine bones wash up. I don't even think I want to read that one. That one just sounds kind of crazy. So I don't know. There was a Danube River tour, and there was a collision, and 20 people died during this. So that's like kind of crazy, right? The Danube River, and it has something to do with, it says something about South Korea, and I'm gonna click on this for a minute. So I guess, our minds, our hearts and prayers should also be over in Budapest, Hungary, where this happened. 20 people died during I guess there's a South Korean tourist was recovered. It's just a sightseeing cruise ship, just a boat. It collided. So a sightseeing boat sank seconds after colliding with a cruise ship on the Danube River. I mean, wow, talk about not looking where you're going. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, right? Like, how come they don't have, those things that people have, those cameras that go on the back of their cars so they don't like back up over their dog or their toddler? Why can't they put that on boats? Does it seem like I'm just inventing stuff left and right? Like after the fact, after some horrible tragedy occurs. Oh my God, I'm such a Virgo. Anyway. No, I don't know. I think we just say a little prayer for those families too. It's just some weird stuff going on in the world. I did watch 2 movies today, and I'm going to say I watched the movie I Am Mother. I accidentally clicked on it while trying to click. I tried to watch Always Be My Maybe and accidentally hit I Am Mother. If you're on Netflix this week, you know what I'm talking about. I Am Mother is a cyberpunk sci-fi film, and basically it's about a robot that is left in charge of millions, maybe thousands, maybe just thousands of human embryos. And it decides to make one into a baby after the apocalypse, and there's no more humans left. And it's pretty crazy. It's like really, it's kind of a crazy thing. I mean, like the robot's chest heats up to warm the baby, and and it keeps playing different music until the baby stops crying. It's like ridiculously, it's like super scary, but at the same time, it's like, whoa, like robot apocalypse, or it's crazy, crazy story. It was a good movie though. I mean, if you like sci-fi, I Am Mother is a really good movie. So basically there's that. And then I watched Always Be My Maybe. And I was absolutely shocked when Keanu Reeves was in the middle of the movie, just out of nowhere. And the movie went from being a pretty good movie with Ali Wong and Randall Park. And I love both of these people so much. Randall Parks, sorry, he has an S at the end of his name, I'm sure. Anyway, it's a really good, I'm like, this is a cute movie. I love anything and everything set in San Francisco because I miss that city more than life itself. I got married there to the love of my life who died, and my oldest kid moved back there as soon as he turned 18. You know, we all had kind of left our hearts in San Francisco. It's like if you've ever spent any number of days or weeks or months in that city, your heart is there too. And anyway, this movie there's parts that are just so over the top and amazing that you're just like, oh my God, no way. I mean, to the point where I went to YouTube immediately and played the soundtrack as soon as I was done watching it. So really super fun movie, really, really fun story, you know, heartwarming, but also it's got amazing music. And I don't know. So if you haven't seen it, go see that. Netflix at this point should be freaking paying me. Anyway, yeah, I know. I need to get a little bit more of a life, but I had to stay in today and write my next big ad, which will come out in 2 days. Trying to build up my listener base. So if you guys want to help me with that, just go post in forums, maybe possibly like on Reddit, do, you know, just anything. My son is like, Mom, why you got to pay these people on Fiverr that are not doing very good for you? Some woman said she promised me 1,000 listeners, and I think I got 10 less than normal. I'm like, and then she says, I'm done with your work. And I'm like, nah, yeah. And there's like no proof, no screenshot. I'm like, dude, this other person just was like tweeting to literally 0 followers saying, okay, I did the work. It's like, why would you tweet from an account you started 10 minutes ago? Like, hello, I have 1,200 followers. I don't have 0. Like, why am I paying you? You should be paying me to recommend people. Like, come on. So my son's like, that's it. I'm done. I want a job working for you. I'm like, yay. It's what I wanted all along. I just took a couple of crappy days of paying people to literally do nothing or make it worse. Anyway, it's like, is this a family business helping mommy's podcast function? I don't know. Oh, my crazy life. But a lot of interesting stuff is coming out about the Ascension. In5D posted, Greg is his name, he posted another pretty interesting episode again. So, oh yay, I just got a message that girl who literally did 0 work can't provide a screenshot for me. Oh, go figure, because you didn't actually do the work, right? Oh my God. And this other person had wrote me and said, will you pay me $20 and I'm going to tell my 400 Twitter followers? I'm like, I have 1,200 Twitter followers. Why are you like killing me with this $20 to post to 400 people once? Oh my God. I don't know. Fiverr is like ridiculous. And I don't know what happened. I mean, years ago, for $20, I paid this guy to do a press release. And he did this most amazing video that was just it was just incredible. Oh God, here now something's happening with my, okay. It's like I don't know anything about technology. No, I mean, this guy did a press release for me, and it was like this phenomenal thing. It was so incredible, and it got a lot of attention. And then he posted that on different sites, and that was for $20. It was like so high quality, and for like $5, I got these women to sing for me, like this amazing song. It was a Jason Mraz song. And at the time, I had a fiance who I absolutely loved. He was living in New Zealand. And for Christmas, I posted that publicly. And I was like, I just wanted to tell you that I love you and Merry Christmas, sweetheart. I can't wait to see you in a couple months. And I never heard from him again. So maybe that was embarrassing. It's like, come on. It was just like, it was just, I don't know. His brother was my best friend. And he and I were planning on getting married. And we'd been talking for months and months, and then all of a sudden, radio silence. I mean, seriously, like, whatever the sound crickets make. I don't know what they do. I'm like, oh, my life has been crazy. Seriously, everything's been topsy-turvy in my life for 10 years. And looking back, I think this was like ongoing ascension symptoms, and I had no idea. But it's been a pretty slow day for the past day and a half, 2 days, as far as being contacted by ETs. I have not, it's been this like kind of radio silence, except for yesterday, the conversation with Lord Krishna. I haven't really, that was my show last night. I haven't really had, like the sky was normal. Everything seems kind of like silent, like we're getting ready for something big, so we're being given this I don't know, as soon as I said it got really quiet outside. I think we're being prepared, and in a couple days it's going to just ramp up. Like I think like next week it's going to be like, oh my God, full steam ahead. We're going to be in the eye of the ascension storm. It's just like a feeling I have, like, I don't know. Usually I have people, I mean, my twin flame, he and I are always talking. I'm hearing him more. In fact, I'm seeing him in my mind more. Like, he was looking at something in his room, and I saw his room, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, whoa, trying to fall asleep. And then all of a sudden I just saw this, and he showed me like, just like his bedroom, and like, there's like a mirror. I just saw all this stuff in his room, and I'm like, cool. And then the other day I overheard him in my mind say, oh yeah, that's good. You're making coffee. I bet it's really good. And it was just like, whoa, he saw that I was making coffee. So the telepathy is increasing, which I love. And I've been able to increase it with other people a little bit. But I don't know, if anyone wants to try to telepath with me, especially on the star grid, remember the star grid, remember to say, I'd like to be connected to the star grid, please. I would like to try it. I'd like to practice it. So let me know what your thoughts are as far as the star grid is concerned. So anyway, I'm going to take a quick break, and in the next part of the show, tonight's topic is A Course in Miracles. So I don't know, I'm not going to say much about it right now. When I come right back, I'm going to tell you what my experience with it has been. And I'm going to, if I have enough time, read to you the very first lesson to see if it's something that you connect with. And then I'm also going to give you a way to get these spiritual lessons for free. So stick around. You're going to want to know about this. A Course in Miracles came to me through, well, a miracle, to be honest with you. My friend had been going through the lessons, and he said, you know what you might like, he said to me, is A Course in Miracles. He said, I started doing this, and it's really changed my life. And he had told my other friend, Clifton, in fact, he said, I need you to meet this guy, Clifton, because this guy is going to be, well, probably very important in your life. And I could just see you guys hitting it off and maybe even being best friends. Clifton at the time was living in Oklahoma, and Tom, who told me about A Course in Miracles, was living in Kansas, and I was in California. And we all worked together in a wonderful company called World Ventures, which is pretty much the fastest growing travel agency in the world. And I was there in the beginning. I know all the owners, and maybe I don't know the people now, but I do know the original founders and owners of this company. Anyway, we would all talk business, and then we would spend an hour or two every night on the phone just talking about whatever, just shooting the breeze. And I became very good friends with all of these people. And when Tom said to me, you need to see this book, you need this book in your life. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, whatever. And I just kind of blew it off. I had heard about it from a friend of mine named Simon in Los Angeles, probably 5 years before, and I still kind of blew it off. And I'd seen it even before that, maybe 10 years before that, on a bookstore shelf in Santa Barbara. It's just one of those books that has always been, it had always been in my life, and it had always just been kind of teasing me, taunting me, much like the Celestine Prophecy did. This is one of those things that I kind of knew I needed, but I was just like, dude, I don't even think I'm beginning to be ready for that. Same thing with the Autobiography of a Yogi. I mean, I used to, I'll do that review on another day, but that was another one where I just was like, I'd go to the bookstore and stare at the cover, and I'd swear to God, the man on the cover is looking back at me. I swear to God, he's moving. You know, before I ever did psychedelics in my life, ever, you know, and I ended up reading it later, and that changed my life profoundly, but I knew it was going to, but it was like, I was too young, too immature. I wasn't ready for it spiritually. I don't know if you guys have ever gone through that, where you just kind of, yeah, right, that's going to be something for my future. I hear you loud and clear, universe. Quit sending the book my way. I don't know. Maybe you guys hear some really amazing information like, oh, this book's going to be great for you, and you run right out and buy it. But oh no, not only am I a Virgo and stubborn, I am Irish and stubborn. And I even have the stubborn German to back that up. It's just one of those things that's just like, yeah, I'm not having any of that. Sorry. So it took me years, and one day I was at this bookstore, literally called The Bookstore in Chico, and I saw A Course in Miracles. I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. It was in paperback. And I told my husband about it, and I go, what do you think about this book? Kind of testing the waters. And he said, you know what? This would be great for Nick. Let's buy it for the neighbor. I'm all, yes, let's buy it for the neighbor. Woo, I'm off the hook. There wasn't any other copy in the store. The bookstore is a used bookstore. So we bought it, gave it to the neighbor. He said, this is an amazing book. Oh my God, why didn't you keep it for yourself? I'm not giving it back. And we were like, well, you know, I don't know. We have our own thing. You know, we both were hemming and hawing and making excuses. As stubborn Irish people do. So one day I was asleep in bed, probably about 8 or 9 in the morning. I was still in bed, still sleeping on a Saturday. my husband was up. He was up every day at 6 in the morning. He was a morning person. He was putting up with my night owlness, and I was putting up with this morning personness for 13 years. But we got used to it. And that was good though, because we're both introverts and we both were able to have our couple hours alone per day that we both required. So I don't know. Usually I would wake up when he would come in. He would sip his coffee too loud and wait for me to wake up because he had something great to talk about. Or it would be birds chirping, or one of my kids would come. And that was how every morning was for me. But this morning, this one particular Saturday morning, nobody came in to wake me up. Even the birds were quiet. So I was able to sleep in until almost 9. And then I heard the footsteps. Heard the footsteps in my room. I heard someone walking in. I thought, oh, God, I'm going to have to open my eyes. Somebody's in the room. And this person came in and sat down on the bed and sat down kind of on my feet, actually. And I'm like, why can't my husband look where he's sitting? You know what I mean? It's like you go through that critical thing. I'm a Virgo, so I get the critical thing in my head. And I open my eyes and there's nobody there, and yet somebody is clearly sitting on my feet. And I started to close my eyes again. And I hear the voice of Jesus, Sananda, Brother Yeshua. And he says, little sister, the book is there. And I want you to go to the bookstore today. And I want you to buy A Course in Miracles. It's the hardcover you wanted, because I know you didn't want the soft cover that I already sent you. Oh my God. Well, you can't refuse Jesus, right? When Jesus comes into your life and says, this book is there, it's at the price you want, it's at your favorite store, and it's there right now for you. So I'm like, okay, this is Jesus, but I'm still stubborn. I'm still a Virgo. I'm like, but it's a 45-minute drive, and my husband's going to say, we have to get the kids ready. I don't want to go. I mean, it's just going to happen that way. And he very calmly said, little sister, the book is there. It's waiting for you. I will take care of Terrell because he's not going to refuse you this time. I mean, basically, my stubborn Irish husband, no matter what it is that I wanted in my life, usually he would give it to me, but it would be a battle of, like, the minds. Well, really? Why do you need that? Well, how much does it cost? Well, is it even in the budget? I mean, it was just like every little thing I had to fight tooth and frickin' nail for. And so I'm like, okay. All right, Brother Yeshua, I'm going to do it. I trust you. And if you're telling me to read the book after everyone else has told me to read the book, I'm going to go get the damn book. And I still, at this moment, I'm thinking, I'm going to go buy the book. I don't know why he wants me to read the book, but okay, whatever. I don't know what his connection to the book is, other than he's just a spiritual master and like a big brother to me. He's not my spiritual master, but he's like a friend. All right, fine, cool. That's how it is. So I went downstairs and I said, hey, Terrell, we have to go to the bookstore today to buy A Course in Miracles. It's in hardcover and it's there right now. And he's like, oh, how do you know that? I'm like, because Brother Yeshua told me. And he goes, okay, I'll get the kids ready. We can leave in 10 minutes, right? Are you ready? I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I just reeled a little bit, like, what? This is a man that was like, every request ended up being an hour-long delay of this and that, and an hour-long discussion of why I mean, it was just like, I'll get the kids ready. It was like nothing. Like Yeshua took care of them. It was just like, yeah, all right. So we get to the bookstore. Fast forward to the bookstore. We get there and I go to the spiritual section and there's nothing there. It's not there. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I'm not hallucinating. This is fine. I know this is real. I know he told me it was here. And I'm like, Brother Yeshua, are you still with me? He goes, of course, little sister. I'm always with you. I'm like, all right, fine. So I'm like, I can't find the book. He goes, well, you're in the wrong section. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I asked the guy that was at the store, who could give a crap less whether you buy anything or not or who you are. It was like the most uninterested person in the whole wide world. And I think he was like reading like a newspaper, not like an actual book, which was funny. He's working in a bookstore. But I'm like, all right, well, hey, where would I find A Course in Miracles? He's like, did you check the spiritual section? I'm like, obviously. And he goes, I don't know. I mean, there's like a religious reference over there if you want to go. Maybe it's next to the Talmud or the Bible. I'm like, well, I kind of seriously doubt it, but okay. So I'm like, do you know if a new one came in? He's like, I don't know what we have. Like he could not be more uninterested in his own work. I'm like, all right, fine. So I went over to where the Talmud is, and I knew for a fact, because how I am, I'm so, Virgo-y. I'm like, there's no way in hell it's over here. In this section, it makes no sense. And I had Terrell go look at the other section again. Maybe we missed it somehow. I mean, the books are pretty big and they're hardcover and they're blue. And it's like that one specific, it's almost like a cobalt blue. There's no way you're going to miss it. So I was like, all right, keep going. And I was in the aisle with the Bible and the Talmud. And I'm like, okay, look, I'm going to go book by book by book. I'm like, Brother Yeshua, it's not here. He's like, little sister, it's here. I'm like, brother, it's not here. I'm not seeing it. I know, I believe you. I just don't know what the hell I'm doing. I can't find it. He's like, little sister, it's here. I'm like, brother, look, I'm looking. It's like, look, it's Talmud, it's Bible, it's Talmud, it's the Quran. It's just the religious reference section. It's like, a short history on this and a big, explanation of that and the history of this. And it was nothing like what I was looking for. I'm like, brother, I am not looking. He's like, it's right there. I'm like, where? And I'm like, where? Kind of out loud, talking to no one that anyone can see, right? I mean, only I can feel Brother Yeshua next to me. And he goes, little sister, it's right there. Like, brother, you need to get the book for me because I'm not finding it. And I was starting to get a little stressed, And so Brother Yeshua took the book off the shelf and dropped it on my foot. It was luckily on the lowest shelf. But yeah, the book literally came off the shelf and flew onto my foot. And Brother Hesh was like, you see it now? Like pretty much. I started laughing so hard. I'm all, yeah, brother, thank you. And he goes, now go buy it before anyone else wants it. And I'm like, oh my God, all right. So I went and I bought the 3 books. And when you buy A Course in Miracles, it's always 3 books. And you have to buy them all together. Because you have the workbook, the main book, and then you have the teacher's manual. Because once you go through the main book and the workbook, you're gonna definitely want the teacher's manual in case you want to start a group. Because this is such a dynamic book that it'll blow your mind. It literally deconstructs your ideas and beliefs and everything to do with your 3D linear thinking, which is why now at the precipice of our mass ascension, this might come in handy. It helps you to see past the illusion, to see through everything. I'm going to tell you right now, I think I stopped a couple times, and the last time I stopped, I was like on lesson 99 or 101. I mean, I'm only a third of the way through the lessons, okay? And yet it did actually change my life in a lot of ways. It helped me to see things that I didn't see, or make me feel things in a different way and understand the world around me in a way different way. For example, I used to think that when I look at the world, that's everything that that's what it is. Didn't realize that my world that I see is a projection from my own mind, that perhaps it's not the way it is. Made me realize that nothing really has any meaning except the meaning I give it. That's like literally one of the lessons. So how did A Course in Miracles come about, right? So I am sitting in the VW bus that we took all the way down to the bookstore. I'm sitting in the bus. We'd stopped at the health food store in a couple places, and my husband's like, well, sit in there and read your book, hang out with the kids. They got books too. They always got books. We always bought the kids books. I'm sure half of our money was spent on books, just to be honest. So the kids were reading their books. They were happy, and I was reading my book. I was happy. And my husband went into the health food store or whatever, and he left the door open for us to have a nice breeze while we sat and read. And Brother Yeshua was in the van with me, in the bus with me. He says, so, little sister, what do you think so far? I'm like, this is an incredible book. He's like, I know. I'm going to be with you the whole time that you read it. This is something I've wanted you to know and learn for a very long time. And I'm like, this is weird. It kind of sounds like he wrote it. Like, this is kind of strange, right? So I didn't know anything about the lady that had written it or who came up with it, because it didn't really say. So there was only like the editors' names, you know, inside the books. There wasn't really much to it. So imagine my surprise when, after a few days, I got so curious. I started looking it up. And what I discovered was that this lady, who was an atheist, I believe she was a scientist. So even though she was born Jewish in a Jewish household and her parents were religious and Jewish, they raised her to believe that she can make her own mind up about God and everything. And so she became a scientist that decided not to believe in God at all. Imagine her surprise when suddenly one day she started not only automatic writing, she started channeling, telepathing with Jesus. But she was born Jewish, so it's kind of like, there's no way, even if she had been religious, even if she had believed in God, even if she had been spiritual or metaphysical, why would a Jewish person channel someone that claims to be here directly from God, when in the Jewish faith, the Jewish people don't believe that Jesus was anyone other than a really cool dude, you know? So I just was really even more blown away, but she channeled Jesus. So A Course in Miracles is more than just, it's not a fluffy bunny piece of New Age literature, and it is absolutely miraculous in nature. The more you read it, the more times you read each lesson, the more you learn from it. And as you go through the whole course of the lessons, and then you go back to the beginning again, it's even more. And then when you read not just the lesson book, but the main book too, you get even more information out of it. So I haven't read all of it yet. It's one of those things, though, that, I mean, Jesus told me directly. Brother Yeshua said, look, you can read one a day and go through one lesson a day, or you could spend months on one lesson and still get something out of it every day. And there's going to be times that I'm going to ask you to stop. And then there's going to be times when I ask you to begin again, according to what you need. So when I was going through A Course in Miracles, it became more of a miracle because Brother Yeshua was pretty much telling me what pace I needed for me. He could tell. He's like, okay, yeah, that one, you're going to have to stick on that lesson for a week. So instead of like a lesson for the day, sometimes the lesson would be for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. One lesson was for like 3 months. And one time you told me to take 3 months off. At the end of the 3 months, I'd totally forgotten about the book, that it existed. And he came to me and said, okay, it's time for you to start your lessons again. All right. One time he said, you're going to have to take a year off. And same thing. All right. And then after a year, he's like, okay, time to start again. Okay. So I started again. So I've kind of gone through these series of fits and starts and stops, but it has changed my life. Basically, it says this book is a 1976 book, and it contains a curriculum in which it helps everybody to achieve spiritual transformation. And it says here in the Wikipedia page, it says, the underlying premise of the work is the teaching that the greatest miracle is one that may achieve in one's life is this act of simply gaining a full awareness of love's presence in one's own life. I'm going to read that again because I think I flubbed a couple words. Let me try this one again. Okay. The underlying premise of the work is the teaching that the greatest miracle that one may achieve in one's life is the act of simply gaining a full awareness of love's presence in one's own life. So that's pretty much true. The way that Helen Schucman said that she received the book was that it was dictated to her word for word via inner dictation, which came from Jesus. I mean, to me, that's channeling and telepathy. But he dictated the work to her. And it does absolutely bring about a spiritual transformation. And it does so through logic. And what's so crazy is that, I mean, it took her from 1965 to 1972 to write the book. And it ended up being the text, the workbook for students, and the manual for teachers. But when she first published this, they only published like so many copies, just like 300 copies or something. And she started the Foundation for Inner Peace because having had dictated these words directly from Jesus, obviously, if you heard Jesus in your mind every day for 7 years, you would probably achieve inner peace too, especially if what came out of it was 3 amazing books. See, Jesus is somebody who's been very, very much always perfecting his message. I think he is a perfectionist. He was Lao Tzu, according to Grandma Marian, in his first life as a spiritual master. And then when he came back as Jesus, it was more, he traveled a lot and he tried to perfect his message before he really came out and talked to the masses. And he went to Tibet, and while he was there, he used up some scrolls, writing his message and kind of crossing some stuff out and rewriting it and trying to perfect it. And the only reason I know this is that Grandma Marian herself told me that her spiritual master, her teacher, Doreel, had spent a great deal of time in Tibet with the Tibetan monks. And one day they said, "We want to show you something," and handed him that manuscript that had been held in Jesus's hands. And we had his writing directly on it. And Master Doreel broke down and cried. He touched the words of Jesus with his fingertips and just cried. He said it made him weep. What he read was the words that ended up being faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love. That speech. That's what he read. And it was in ancient Aramaic. I think it was ancient Aramaic, he said, it was written in, and he knew how to read it. He had studied many languages. And he felt it, and he felt the energy, and he felt Jesus with him when he read it. And these monks had no reason to lie. They'd never told anyone else about it. He said, this is like one of our most cherished treasures, and we've never shown anyone. You're the first Westerner we've ever told about this. So I don't know. I just think that's pretty intense. So I remember being alive at that time. That's why Brother Yeshua calls me little sister, because even though I think I was his cousin, I wasn't really his sister. But he said, he used to always call me little sister. And I was there one of the times when he delivered that exact speech. And when he looked at me right in the eyes, it's like a past life memory I have, is he said, the greatest of these is love. And he looked directly into my eyes. And when he said that, it's like it stuck with me, and it's in my Akash, and I accessed it right before he came and told me to break up the fake Jesus Christ grid and help replace it with the Christ consciousness grid that Lisa Transcends Brown also worked on, I believe. So a few of us were asked, probably 1,000 of us or more were asked to work on these grids. And that's when I started getting into all this ascension stuff. I mean, first when he came to me and asked me and told me about the grid stuff, I was all, wow, this is really good weed. I was high as hell when I first heard about that. But so basically there was this massive copyright dispute, because in the beginning, when these first 300 books were published, they forgot to put a copyright on it. They did not inform the copyright office. They did not pay to have a copyright done. And then later, in later editions, they did copyright it. But what happened, that one thing led to another, and the Foundation for Inner Peace ended up in court over the copyright. And when that happened, they had a ruling against them saying that, guess what? We're just going to go ahead and put this in the public domain. Now, if you guys know anything about copyright law, it takes 80 years for any work to be put in the public domain, meaning that anyone can read it, anyone can use the material, anyone can take the material and publish it as their own, and et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, this was written in the 70s, so I mean, it's less than 50 years old. So pretty cool that, in a way, that this happened, because now it's going to be widespread more and more and more. And as a direct result of it, there are many apps that you can download and get for free. You can also go to the Foundation for Inner Peace directly to their website and get the lessons delivered daily. So, yeah, I'm trying to see, I'm looking at this. I guess a lot of people have actually written books about A Course in Miracles and how it affected them, because it's such a deep and profound set of insights. In the beginning, in the introduction, it does say that this is a book that is for life. This is something that every person at some point or another, they have to come across these principles and they have to learn them. Every person that will be someday a spiritual master, which is pretty much everybody here, everybody has to go through the work. So when you're coming across it, it's pretty much when you're ready. I mean, I came across it many, many times, and then finally decided, all right, when Jesus sat on my feet and said, you got to do it. It's like, yeah, okay. You know, I kind of all right, I can't say no to you. I could say no to, my friend in Kansas. No, I can't say no to Jesus. He's my brother. But this is one of those classic books that just no one can say enough good about it. People started channeling Jesus as a direct result of this book. There's one guy that channels Jesus, and Jesus is swearing up a storm through this guy. And people will come and say, but we wanted to hear your words, and we think that maybe this man's lying because you're swearing. And he's like, what do I care for swear words? That's another new lesson I'm teaching because, hey, you have to get over this. Everything is an illusion. So it's brought about so many. So, people have, I'm trying to find literally A Course in Miracles workbook. And a lot of people, oh my God, someone keeps emailing me. This is so irritating. Okay, I had to stop recording for a second because I didn't know how to shut off the vibrate, which was almost louder than the notification, and someone keeps trying to write to me, and it's like, oh my God. So I figured it out. I just turned the volume down and turned off the vibration. It's from my other phone, which is so old. It's 6 years old, and it's not really. All right. I'm going to read to you guys this lesson because it's pretty intense. You could find these lessons in many, many, many websites online as well as apps. I prefer having it on an app. You can even get a little notification that says, hey, it's time for your lesson. So you could do the same, lesson every single day. But A Course in Miracles is so big that you literally can find groups in almost every major city. You could go to meetup.org and look up A Course in Miracles group, and you could go see what lesson they're on. And if it gels with what lesson you're on, you could literally go in a group with a group of people and just discuss it. And so many books, dozens, if not hundreds of books have been written about people's insights and lessons that they got beyond the scope of this as a direct result of taking these lessons. So, in one of my favorite books I read a long time ago, which I don't even really remember, but it's one of my favorite things, is Love is Letting Go of Fear. Now it was written based on the man's insights that he had gotten from, I think it was a man wrote that, so I don't even know. There's a lot of books, though, that just, this has probably sparked more than anything. I wrote, in my mind, I haven't written it out loud yet, but I wrote a one-man play about somebody going through A Course in Miracles and learning the lessons from his life directly related to his conversations directly with Jesus in relation to A Course in Miracles. It's just one of those books that not only does it change you from the inside out, and it helps your mind to unravel itself from the third dimensional linear thinking world, it also brings you to a deeper understanding of humanity, yourself, God, and literally the presence of love all around you. When you get to the lesson where it says love is all there is, it's there's certain lessons that when you first read it, depending on what your life situation has been and who you are as a person, there's certain lessons you'll get to them and you just burst into tears. You're so grateful. My friend Tom told me that there's a man who went through A Course in Miracles. He was living in Sedona, Arizona. And he just he had macular degeneration and he was going blind. And he wasn't allowed to drive after dark. And then after a while, he wasn't allowed to drive at all. And he was just like, I'm going to trust, you know? And everyone told him, yeah, trust, but you need to give your keys to someone, you know, sell your car. He's all, no, I'm going to keep my car. You know, and everyone around him, they were scared because it's like he lived up in the hills and he had to go down this windy road at night that there was no guardrails and he could easily go off the cliff. And finally, it got to a point where he was absolutely blind, couldn't see at night. And he just said, you know what? I've gone through Course in Miracles and I absolutely believe my life is going to be in God's hands and that everything I see is just a miracle anyway, or is just is not everything I see. He says, everything I see is just an illusion anyway. It's not real. So he gave up 100% of himself to God, was going to trust in the universe. And he got in his car and he started driving. And as he's driving, he realized he couldn't really see. And it was just like a bunch of blurs and shapes. And he couldn't really see. And then he started crying. And he just, I guess, pulled to the side of the road. And was just crying and crying and crying. And he passed out, fell asleep. When he woke up, he could see perfectly. It was still dark, it was still night, and he got back in his car and he drove home. And he didn't have macular degeneration anymore. It was a miracle cure. He was cured. Another person who was a friend of Tom's had these warts on his hands. And they were there for like 30 years or something. These warts had been there and outlasted any relationship he had had. And he just thought that maybe the reason no relationship lasted is no one could handle the warts, which is kind of silly, but I mean, that was what he thought. And he just didn't believe he deserved love. So, and when you look into You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, she says that warts are little tiny packets of hate, self-hatred. So when you hate yourself, you get warts, yeah. And if they don't go away with treatment, it's because it's an emotional thing, not an actual physical thing anymore. It's after a while, it's just not even, the virus is even not even there anymore. I mean, some are obviously persistent, but it might have something to do with emotions. So, you know, my friend Tom's like, no, you got to, he keeps telling his friend, you got to. And he was in a bookstore and my friend Tom felt this presence, this intense, beautiful, glorious presence of a woman. And he turned and he looked at her and he just saw it. He's like, I just saw your wedding. You're going to marry that woman. And he's like, what woman? And he's like, that woman there. And he points to this woman who was getting in a taxi and speeding off. His friend's like, you're crazy. You know, leave your, you know, psycho babble, new age mumbo jumbo to yourself, you know, kind of attitude. And Tom's like, no, really, man, I gotta tell you, this is, it's real, what I just saw. He's like, dude, no one's gonna want me. I got these stupid warts in my hands. They grew more warts. It's just, forget it, you know, forget it. So it took months and months and he never mentioned it again. And the guy ended up finally getting into A Course in Miracles, took the whole course, and he started to love himself. He started to be aware of the presence of love in his life all around him, and he loved himself. And one day he was standing in the shower and he was thinking about his life and how he's so lonely. He wished he had love in his life. And he realized he did have love in his life. He didn't have a romantic partner, but he had the love of God. And then he realized he had the love of himself, and he started bawling his head off while standing there in the shower. And he thought, oh gosh, the water's getting cold. I'm going to have to clean my body. So when he went to get the washcloth and the soap, and he started to run this over his arms, when he got to his hands, all the warts just peeled right off and fell and went down the drain. So disgusting. Sorry about the disgusting imagery there, but basically he was healed. All the warts are gone, completely, totally gone. And shortly after that, he met the woman that had sped off in the taxi, and they're married now. So I don't know. I mean, I think that not only is the book literally A Course in Miracles, the book itself and all the circumstances surrounding this book creates miracles. And it will. And as I'm saying this, I'm seeing things in my room. I don't know if it's angels. I don't know. Fairies. I don't know. But I'm going to read you guys lesson 1. But I want you to read it to yourself, and go get the app if you are so inclined. Go get the app, get the book. I prefer the book. It's heavy. I can't travel around with it. I've been traveling for 6 years. I'm now settled in Ecuador, but ish. Trying to get my resident visa this month, but I discovered the apps, and I'm so grateful because I always have the Course in Miracles with me. So the first lesson, I'm literally reading it from ACIM, which stands for A Course in Miracles, acim.org. And this is directly the Foundation for Inner Peace. They will actually give you all the lessons for free. At the bottom of the page, it does say copyright 2019, even though there's no copyright on the lessons, the rest of their website, obviously. So it says lesson 1, nothing I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place, means anything. Now slowly look around you and practice applying this idea very specifically to whatever you see. This table does not mean anything. This chair does not mean anything. This hand does not mean anything. This foot does not mean anything. This pen does not mean anything. Then look farther away from your immediate area. Apply the idea to a wider range. That door does not mean anything. That body does not mean anything. That lamp does not mean anything. That sign does not mean anything. That shadow does not mean anything. Notice that these statements are not arranged in any order and make no allowance for differences in the kinds of things to which they are applied. And that is the purpose of the exercise. The statement should merely be applied to anything you see. As you practice the idea for the day, use it totally indiscriminately. Do not attempt to apply it to everything you see, for these exercises should not become ritualistic. Only be sure that nothing you see is specifically excluded. One thing is like another as far as the application of the idea is concerned. Each of the first 3 lessons should not be done more than twice a day each, preferably morning and evening, nor should they be attempted for more than a minute or so, unless that entails a sense of hurry. A comfortable sense of leisure is essential. So that's it. It's pretty cool, right? I mean, it's like so easy. So when you jump ahead to other lessons, it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper into the idea. You get to lesson 5, it's, I am never upset for the reason I think. It's like pretty intense, right? And then whatever you're feeling at that moment, you have to apply it. So then you have to say, I am not filled with anxiety for the reason I think. I am not angry for the reason I think. I'm not sad for the reason I think. Whatever it is. I'm not lonely for the reason I think. It's because it's undoing how you are and who you are in the world. Because the way that you've put yourself into the world, as all of us have, you've put yourself very concretely in a world that's an illusory world. It's an illusion. It's not real. So when you extract yourself from the world around you, because what you see isn't even real, what you see is a projection of your mind, and everybody who sees the world around them, they're seeing it completely different than how you're seeing it. I mean, go watch the play The Mikado if you don't believe me. It's an incredible story about how people all have a completely different idea of what is happening or what has happened. That's why everyone has a different idea when you see a car wreck and 20 people see it, everyone's going to see it from a little bit different perspective. Everyone hears a song. There are songs that have been written that the lovers of the world will say, oh, that's the most beautiful romantic love song. I feel that way about my wife. I feel that way about my sweetheart, about my boyfriend or my husband. Oh, that song is so beautiful. And then somebody else will come along and they'll say, oh, that song is so beautiful. I feel that way about my children. This person who wrote the song definitely must be a parent. And then somebody else will come along and hear that song and they'll say, oh, wow, this is the deepest, most spiritual song I've ever heard in my life. This person must truly have found God the way I've been seeking for God my whole life. And it's still the same song. The song didn't change. The song doesn't mean anything. It's just a song. It has meaning that was given to it by the person who wrote it. But I mean, everybody applies their meaning based on their own personal experience. And this is something that A Course in Miracles has taught me. And they will definitely teach you as well. When you get to lesson 50, that's when you learn, I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. It's pretty intense. It's really good. So it says, here's the answer to every problem that will confront you today and tomorrow and throughout time. In this world, you believe you are sustained by everything but God. Oh my God. You know what? Jesus and I had this conversation just yesterday, and I randomly turned to this lesson. Unbelievable. I'm like, Jesus, what was that song? I mean, what was that lesson about pills and how a pill can't sustain you? Everyone believes they need medicine because the doctor said you need medicine. And you think that a little tiny pill is going to sustain you when you're really not sustained by anything but the love of God, right? It's all an illusion. So, of course, I just randomly turned to this. So I'm going to read this because I think it's important. Somebody listening to this right now, and that might be you, you're here because you needed to hear this. Here's the answer to every problem that will confront you today, tomorrow, and throughout time. In this world, you believe you are sustained by everything but God. Your faith is placed in the most trivial and insane symbols. Pills, money, quote-unquote protective clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the quote-unquote right people, and an endless list of forms of nothingness that you endow with magical powers. All these things are your replacements for the love of God. All these things are cherished to ensure a body identification. They are songs of praise to the ego. Do not put your faith in the worthless. It will not sustain you. Only the love of God will protect you in all circumstances. It will lift you out of every trial and raise you high above all the perceived dangers of this world into a climate of perfect peace and safety. It will transport you into a state of mind that nothing can threaten, nothing can disturb, and where nothing can intrude upon the eternal calm of the Son of God. And by the way, in earlier lessons, Jesus does say you are the Son, S-O-N, of God. Everybody is. Whether you're a woman or a man, you are still a child of God. Put not your faith in illusions, they will fail you. Put all your faith in the love of God within you, eternal, changeless, and forever unfailing. This is the answer to whatever confronts you today. Through the love of God within you, you can resolve all seeming difficulties without effort and ensure confidence. Tell yourself this often today. It is a declaration of release from the belief of idols. It is a declaration of release from the belief in idols. Did you ever think that taking a pill, thinking that's going to save your life, might actually be a false belief in an idol? And it says not to put your faith in false idols right in all the holy books. It is your acknowledgement of the truth about yourself. And it basically tells you how to take the lesson in, how to use it, 10 minutes twice a day, morning and night. And then it says, allow peace to flow over you like a blanket of protection and surety. Let no idle, foolish thoughts enter to disturb the holy mind of the Son of God. Such is the kingdom of heaven. Such is the resting place where your Father has placed you forever. I am sustained by the love of God. So you can see, you can imagine, this book gets deep, 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 deep. Gets more and more into it. I hope that you decide that you are worthy of the miracles God has in store for you through this book. Brother Yeshua obviously spent 7 years interdictating this to a woman who didn't even believe in God when she started. A Course in Miracles is one of those books that just changed my mind, changed my thinking, blew me away, and brought me a lot of miracles. And obviously still does to this very day. So I am probably going to get back into it now because I feel like it's time again. Brother Yeshua's with me, shaking his head. Yes, 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 get into it. All right, so there it is. If you had never heard of this book or you've heard a bit of it, but you just went, yeah, whatever, blah, 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 it's probably time for you to get into it too, especially if you're hearing me tell you that. Don't be stubborn like me. Don't wait years like me. It's going to help us all through the ascension. Read it and see how you relate to it. A lot of the words that were put into the Bible that made you cringe are explained in this in a way that will uncringe you. At least there's a lot of stuff that made me cringe before, and I'm like, yes, oh, thank you, Brother Yeshua. You explained it in a way now that does not make me feel weird or creeped out or cringed by it. There's there's certain religious phrases and words that just always kind of turned my stomach because I felt like it was being misused. He really settles the score on everything that was misused. throughout time by all religions through the Course in Miracles. Anyway, I love each and every one of you. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Metaphysical Soul Speak. And feel free to drop me a line at anchor.fm/metaphysical. Feel free to, that's to send me a message, that kind of line, out loud and and proud. Yay for Pride Month, by the way, June. And go ahead and write me a letter or email, question, comment, ideas for upcoming shows, or even if you want to use my email to send me a donation via PayPal. I'm not going to shun that. No shunning here. My email is metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com. So, once again, happy birthday to Johnny Depp. Woohoo! And now I'm signing off. That's all I gotta say about that. Signing off now with peace and love and joy. And of course, that means I'm sustained only by the love of God. When I say these words, now you'll know. Signing off with peace and love, joy, and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.